Here is a question from Stefan about overexposed footage and what's the best way to fix it in Filmora 14. Well, it would have been good if Stefan had posted his overexposed images or video clips. Then we could have probably worked on that directly. But I have one video clip here which is pretty bad shape. It doesn't have a lot of saturation, doesn't have a lot of color. There's a number of ways of going about creating a better image or fixing overexpose. I'm going to admit I'm not the best color corrector person around there, but I can show you what the tools are that you have to use. Obviously, you would click on color, and LUTs are basically look up tables. In other words, they're a list of color corrections. So there are some LUTs that you can use. There is an AI color palette. Let's see here what LUTs. These are some different LUTs. You see, you could just simply use one of these to do a general correction. I don't generally use those, but also, yeah, you could change the strength of something if you see something that's kind of what you like, and then you could, like, I don't know, ease it down or whatever, protect skin tones. We're not going to get into that. I don't generally use LUTs, but that is one way to do it. Another way is to use the AI color palette, and that is if you have some other image or you want to create your own lookup table, so to speak. Here's one that I have from another color correction that I did, and I'm applying it to here. Again, it increases the color a little bit, but it's not really what's needed here. Here's another one that I had. So that's another tool that you could, for example, use to try to improve your color. So those are a couple of tools. You can get into the basic color correction in the color section here. Now, before you even do that, going back to just the basics here, video basics, they have an auto enhance. It seems to add mostly just some contrast and so forth. It doesn't really bring in the color, but sometimes that can in itself do what you need to do without doing any further. So that's an option. That was under Video Basic. Let me go back into color, and we're in the color sections. Now, we do have a lot of color options here, and I'm going to just stretch this out a little bit so you can see. We have the basic, where we can actually adjust many of the different things, including these vignettes. This is pre-made stuff that you could use. Perhaps one of those would work for you. But most likely you'd want to work in here. This is the simplest set of tools to work with. But they have these other more advanced modes of correcting. Like, for example, we want to work on just the blue in our picture. We can click on this blue. We can now increase the saturation of the blue, luminance of the blue here. We can change it. Now we're bringing a little bit more out of the color in the sky. As we see here, it isn't doing much. But anyway, this is one way that we can adjust an aspect of the photo without touching some of the other colors in the photo. The same is done with color curves. You choose the color that you want to correct. Again, let's say we want to do something with the blue. Here we can see we're basically affecting the whole thing. So some people use the blue. Now, I should show you that there is this tool over here, side by side, which is useful, so you can see what you had and what you're doing. So if you're doing this here, then you're going to end up with that. So obviously you could work with the different things. And then there's the color wheel option. This works on the highlights in the video, this works on the midtones, and this works on the shadows. And you can work on, this is the, I don't know, saturation, I guess, or similar to that, or and if we're working on the highlights, I would say we're working on the lighter tones here, and we want to bring them into more of the blue. So now this is what we're getting compared to the original, and that looks a little bit better. So you can compare this side by side, and you can say, okay, now I've got some of the color that I wanted to get here. And then that is working on the highlights, so the brighter parts of the picture. The midtones, of course, would be something in between. So maybe we want to generate a little more green here in the midtones. We want to bring out some of the color of the forest that's up here. So we can do that. And again, we might want to do a little bit here. This looks like this is contrast or brightness, actually. And the reason why I say likely is because I don't know for sure, but this is a tool that you can use. Shadows. If you don't want shadows in there, you can decrease this. We're having shadows on the inside of the car here, the dashboard here. We can whiten that up, darken it up. Usually when you darken it up, you get better contrast. You can, as you see, when you move these around, these numbers here change. So presumably you can just slide here a particular color. We want to move in the red direction. We want to move in the green direction. So this is a way that we can work on this. But we've taken our overexposed scene and we've done something with it. So that's another option. And if things actually vary within the video itself, it's one thing here, but it's another thing here. You can use the keyframes and you can actually set the color correction for up here where you want it maybe a little less green or something like that or whatever. And then when you get down into another part, you can set another keyframe so that it softly transitions from one color to the next. So that's another way of doing it. These, I would say, are a little bit more advanced methods. You should have some experience with them before you do it. But with any of these, if you find like a good color combination that works for you, you can save it as a custom. By saving it as a custom, you can then reuse it on another clip that has the same sort of colors in the background, and you want to apply the same combination of colors and so forth. You can do the same thing with the curves, and even with the color selection here. You could save any of these combinations and then reuse them. Probably for a beginner version, I would go with just this, where you can sit and play with the individuals. But before I get into that, let me just say that you have these vignettes here. Vignettes are, again, I would say it's these LUTs up here. If you chose one of these and chose one of these LUTs and you want to modify it slightly or whatever, then you could, do it down here. But really, this is not applicable to color. It's just, well, I guess there is exposure here for that matter. But usually it's to give you kind of a retro look or something like that. Again, we shouldn't be playing with that here. For your simple question, let's stick with just the simple colors, and let's not deal with the LUTs, although you might find one that's suitable for you. But let me just reset this so we're back to side-by-side comparison. You can try the auto white balance. Usually I find that gives you some weird color, and I don't really like it. But that's an option that you could use. So let's just reset that. You can use a color picker, which allows you to pick up a color somewhere on the photo or somewhere else, and then apply it to your photo. That's what the little eyedropper tool does. It lets you go in and say, oh, this is what I want to use and use on there. So that's just a little tool you can use, and we're not going to use that here either. All right. A lot of your correction in overexposure, underexposure can be dealt with here in these first two groups. Generally, if you play with the saturation and vibrance, you can get much of the colors out that you want. You want to bring a little more light, a little more color into the scene. But again, we really want to get that blue color in. And we can't just do that. This turns everything blue. This may not be the best option for you here. Again, I don't know what your picture looks like. If it's just a question of exposure, of course, you can use the slider here to go back and forth. Generally, I don't do too much on the exposure, but I might work on the individual things such as brightness. Now here, they've got it broken down for you, and basically our sky is washed out. We'd like to bring some of that blue out, so let's reduce some of the highlight. That's pretty good. We can increase the contrast because it's, there's not good contrast there. Frankly, so far, I think my color wheel adaptation was better, but you can play with this yourself. We want to reduce the amount of white that we have in this scene. This is not too good here. It's just making it dark. I don't like that. Let's see if we play around with the black. We get a little more contrast out of that. So something like that. This is a terribly bad scene. If you want to get it more in focus or sharpen it up a little bit, this is a good way to do it. It does bring out some of the contrast, so it's a good way to do that. In this particular case, I will have to say I did a terrible job. I was doing much better with my color wheels where I had my individual colors. I don't seem to be able to bring out the blue that I want in here because it's acting on the entire image, not just on the sky. And so if I just want to act on the sky, I had better go into one of those other options. And we can do that. Let's just go back here to our color wheel and let's deal with the highlights. Let me see, did we have highlights over here in basic? We had highlights, but it's not really doing anything for us here. So let's just reverse everything we have here. And then let's go back over to our color wheels and try to improve it here. And we did want the highlights to be more of a blue color. And we can see the blue is now being applied. It is applied to all of it, but it's more so to the sky than it is to the image there. And we can soften it a little bit. Midtones, we wanted them to be more sort of in the green color. I'm sitting on a bad image here, but you kind of get the gist for what you want to do here. Here's the one we were looking at before. Bring out a little more of the green, a little more of the blue here. Take out the saturation. I think you get the gist of what I'm talking about here. You need to just play around with these tools right in here. Basic, HSL, curves, and find the thing that you want to correct. And I think this is where I started, which I want to increase the saturation of the blue and the luminance. I can bring that out. Now I'm getting a little bit more of the sky. I'm keeping the green here. We'll sharpen up the green a little bit. Anyway, play around with these tools, and this is how you can eventually get something that you like. So this is what I would do if I was you.